Hi folks, and welcome to the channel. Today we're going to have a look at some of our machinery that we're running here, and we'll start off with this fellow behind us, which is a Wadkin MF combination chain and chisel mortiser. She was made somewhere in the 1960s and weighs it somewhere around about 3/4 of a ton. As you can see, it's a big machine. It stands almost as tall as me. It is blocked up a little bit, so it's not quite that tall, but it's a pretty big machine. It's a combination chain and chisel, as I said, which means that, we have a chain here and we have a chisel here, so we can use either or either. They're both set up. It's in line, so it's set up to the same thing. We're running an 1.5 by 1/2 inch bar and chain combination on it, and a 1/2 inch chisel. It has a grinding attachment up here on the side, so we can, when the chain's getting blunt, we just pull it off and we hook it up here, and the grinding wheel hooks up to the back of the chain motor via a flat belt, and we just use the chain handle to engage the grinding wheel. This machine has a rise and fall table just done by a wheel. Can go anywhere from about 260 mil or 10.5 inches or so up to, I don't know how high, it can probably wind up all the way up to the chain, or pretty close to it. Very good machine, solid, heavy, work all day every day, and does work here pretty much every day, and won't buy better. Okay, let's move on. This old fella here, it's an Oliver, also an English machine. This one's for doing our sash work, so whenever we've got sashes for windows to make, this is the mortiser that we use for making sashes. It's a solid cast iron machine too, not as big as the Wadkin is, but still about 1/2 ton in weight. This one is also a combination chain and chisel, only to get the chisel on this one we have to remove this setup and put a new setup to house the chisel. So you can only either do chain or chisel, you can't do the both together. But that's fine for this machine because it's permanently set up like this. The table's locked in place, so we don't actually even wind the wheel back and forth. Have a series of graduations on the table for our sashes, so we have got this machine set up to work very quickly, so we don't have to actually measure and set things out. We can just come straight up to the machine, go to our graduations, and there we go, and start mortising. Very, very quick. Very good machine. Getting old now and could use some attention, but still works very well. This little machine is an Australian built Woodfast, a little 12-inch rip saw. I got it very, very cheaply. It hadn't been looked after too well, and I think it had been left out in the weather or something. The bearings in the motor or in the shaft for the blade are pretty well worn, and it's a very, very noisy machine, but it works very well still. There's no movement in it, so it could be just dry bearings in the motor. Anyway, it's a good little machine. It's a straight up rip saw. It's not a sliding table saw or anything like that. Just a straight up rip saw. Doesn't have a tilting blade. Just a straight up and down. Runs a 12-inch blade. I have a fairly coarse blade on it because we literally all we do is rip on this saw. We don't do any fine work, just ripping down to size. It's a beautiful little machine. I wish I could have had it from new. Just very well made, very simple, does the job day in, day out. This machine gets worked and worked and worked here. I used to have a much larger machine, but I ended up selling that once I got this because this was a far better machine to use. Anyhow, it's a beautiful little thing. Anyone overseas, you probably haven't seen this or heard of this brand. As I said, built in Australia, very well made. Here I have a 12-inch jointer or surface planer. I have no idea of the make of it. It's well over 100 years old, or solid cast iron. Fairly simple machine. It's only a 2-knife blade, 2-knife head machine, but it does have quite a large head on it, somewhere in the vicinity of about 125 mil diameter. Quite a large machine. The beauty of this machine is it's got, on a 12-inch machine, it's got the longest tables that you'll get in these older machines. It's close to about 2 meters in length. Most of them pull up short of 1800 or 1.86 foot. This machine I got off an old friend of ours who was a joiner himself, and he'd retired, and he had a rep a representative from a timber company come out interrupting him one day when he was changing the cutters, and when the rep had left, he'd forgotten that he hadn't tightened the cutters up. Started up, went to use it, the cutters come flying out and smashed all the front of the table out, and so he deemed it no good. He gave it to me, I put it into the engineers and got it all got the table remachined and got an insert put into the table, got the head x-rayed and all was good. We got it all back together and it's a beautiful machine. I love this thing. It's the oldest machine that I own, like as far as how long I've had it. I've had it for about 27, 28 years I've had this machine. And I'll never sell this. It's a terrific machine. It doesn't look much, it's pretty daggy looking, but it's a great machine. It's yeah, no idea who made it. Pretty sure it's probably made in England, as most of the good stuff always is. But yeah, it's a really good piece of gear. So we'll wind this part of the workshop tour up with this machine. It's a Wadkin EQ spindle moulder made in the 60s. And we know the entire history of this machine. It was bought brand new by an old friend of ours, another old retired joiner. And we acquired it somewhere around 30 years ago. They're a terrific machine. This is a 4-speed machine, so down here on the switch, two speeds forward and reverse, and then you can change the belt on the engine, change the on the pulley I should say, to give you another 2 speeds. So it's a 4-speed forward, 4-speed reverse, 1.25 inch shaft. These things are fantastic. I've got 2 of these. I've got 4 spindles in total, but I have 2 of these exact same machines. But this particular one, this is my workhorse. I use this all day every day, and this thing's been working all day every day for its entire life, and it'll continue to keep working. It'll be still working long before I've retired, long after I've retired. They're not what you would normally see in machines though. Like most machines you'll see grease nipples and things like that on them where you have to grease them. The bearings in this actually run in an oil bath, so underneath the table here where the spindle shaft comes down through the bearings, there's a couple of funny little, I don't even know what you would call them, but there's a special oil pump that we have to pump oil into this thing as you would normally grease a machine. Interesting idea. Seems to work. It's been going now for what, 60s, so 60 odd years, so it obviously works. Again, solid cast iron machine, weighs about half a ton, something like that. Another thing that it has that and not many of the older machines has, it actually has a brake underneath here, so when you're wanting to change up in between runs you can slow the spindle down with the brake. Not much more I can really say about it, other than if you ever get the opportunity to buy one, buy it, because they're a terrific machine. As I said, gets used here all day every day. Yeah. So we'll wrap this up now, and we'll come back with part 2, and we'll do a few other of the machines here. We'll probably end up taking 3 or 4 parts to get through everything, but we'll see how we go. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching.